Welcome to another edition of Coffee with Father James. I didn't plan to be down by the lake today. That's why I grabbed the short mug. Remember, when I walk somewhere, I usually get the tall mug so I don't spill my coffee. And guess what? I spilled my coffee. So I reached into my pocket to see if it had tissue, and all I had was this blue thing, which worked quite well to soak up the coffee. And then we've got a little shelf here, a little resting place for my coffee. Thought we would use advantage of the good weather while it's still with us and to come down by the pond here. And as I was wiping with the mask, it reminded me of one of the first things we want to talk about this week, and that is the fact that, at least as of right now as we shoot on Monday, that by Wednesday we're scheduled as a province to move to phase 5. So what does that mean for us at the parish? I'm not entirely sure because we're still awaiting final instructions from the Archdiocese, but we've been anticipating this shift, and we just want to share with you a couple of thoughts. So as we understand it right now, phase 5 means that we don't have size limitations anymore of the people who can gather in our church. Also, there's no longer a requirement for wearing a face mask. So after discussing this with the parish leadership team, we thought that in light of, the fact that the Delta variant is out there and that children have returned to school in just in this past week, and the fact that it usually takes a couple of weeks to see the effect of something, we thought that we would maybe be a bit cautious. We'd err on the side of caution in the first couple of weeks after we enter into phase 5. So here's what we decided, that we should really do one or the other, either unlimited attendance or masks. And we decided on raising the attendance limits. So here's what we're going to do. So going forward, there's no limit to the capacity other than the physical that we have for our 4 masses. And we're going to be asking parishioners to continue for now to wear face masks. I know that if you're like me, I can't wait to be done with these things, but we're asking parishioners to wait a couple more weeks. Remember that wearing a face mask, to the degree to which it's effective, is a safeguard for others who are perhaps more vulnerable. So in that way, I think we can see it as an inconvenience, as an act of love for others. And so we can't, strictly speaking, require it for people coming to church, but we're going to strongly encourage you to continue to wear your masks. And then in the coming weeks, we'll be reevaluating this in light of developments and news, and to make the best decisions that we can. Obviously, phase 5 has implications for us liturgically. Again, we're waiting for final word from the Archdiocese, but I'm thinking that it means that we will no longer have sign-ins at the beginning of Mass. That's no longer required. And so you don't have to bring your BP card, at least for now. And what that means for such things as, right now we only have 2 communion stations because of social distancing. Obviously, eventually that's going to change and go back to being closer to what we had before COVID. And other things like the collection, and even our ability to have a choir again. So once again, we're waiting for final instructions, but even if the Archdiocese did come out on Wednesday and say, yeah, it's a green light to go ahead with all of these things, honestly, we probably wouldn't be organized enough to be able to do that in time for this coming weekend. So as in all things, we're asking everyone just to be patient with this. And in these rather sensitive times where, we're talking about who's wearing a mask and who's not wearing a mask, and who's vaccinated and who's doubly vaccinated and who's not, let's remember too that not everyone who's not vaccinated is doing so out of their free choice, because there are sometimes medical reasons. And even if it is a free choice, let's really try not to make this an issue that would be divisive for us as a church. If you have concerns about this, about how we can move to this next level and continue to maximize safety in terms of health, we'd be certainly open to hearing your feedback on this. So, another thing, as you know, this past weekend we had a wonderful testimony by Kevin from our parish about how he has come to know Jesus in his life and the role that Alpha played to bring him deeper and to help him to be connected into our parish. And next week, this coming weekend, we're going to hear another testimony. Why is this important? Because we need to be reminded about what the main thing of our church is, and that is to, as Jesus said, to go and make disciples, to help people to become followers of Jesus. And that starts with an encounter with Jesus in a way that impacts our lives. And sometimes when we get in the mechanics of practicing our faith, we can sometimes forget that that's at the heart of it. So that's why we're having these testimonies during this time. Because if Alpha is about anything, it's about helping people to experience Jesus and experience God's love in a new way, in a way. I mean, here's the thing. If you truly experience Jesus and God's love, how can it not change your life? So that's why we're doing this. And we will be talking about Alpha again this weekend. So far, our 2 Alphas, online Alpha and in-person Alpha, we have, I believe, 12 spots left. We're limited for in-person Alpha because of the size of the building. We're meeting in the parish center. We have the Alpha team as well, and the hospitality and the team we need to prepare food. So 12 spots left. So go online and sign up for that. There are many more spots available for online Alpha. At one point I think I said it's unlimited, but then I remembered, oh no, it's not, because we have to have people in small groups. And we only have so many small groups, but there's certainly many more spaces available. So please check that out. And you know, I'm hearing from so many people. I'm hearing from people, oh, I invited my friend at work, or invited my cousin, or invited this person or that person. I think it's going to be great. I think people have really caught on to this idea of offering that invitation. And you know, what matters is not invitations accepted. What matters are invitations extended. You know, it's between that person and the Lord whether they say yes to it or not. Our responsibility is to do what Jesus did and to say to people, come and see. Finally, with regard to the news I gave a couple of weeks ago about the Archbishop coming to our parish to announce the beginning of phase 2 of the consultation process around the question of the closure of some of our buildings, mainly Immaculate Conception Church and St. Paul's Church. It's a question that we're looking at, and the formal discussion around those closures can only begin when the Archbishop gives us the go-ahead. And so he's coming to our parish on Thanksgiving weekend on October 10th, and he's going to celebrate the 9 a.m. Mass and the 11 a.m. Mass, and launches. He's going to preside and preach. Afterwards, he's going to be meeting for a luncheon with the parish leadership team and the Pastoral Council and the Finance Council as well, so the parish leadership groups. And that's going to begin a process that's going to last several months, a process of listening. We've got a great committee of people who are designing a process for listening to parishioners in a large group format, and even in smaller meetings as well. And I just want to let you know that we've set the dates for the large group meetings, and this is what we've got. So the Archbishop is coming October 10th to launch it. On Tuesday, October 19th, we will be gathering at St. Anthony's location for a meeting with regard to the question of the closure of Immaculate Conception Church. And then 2 nights later, on Thursday night, Thursday the 21st, we will gather again at St. Anthony's. Well, we figured it's a neutral location, okay? It's not Immaculate Conception, it's not St. Paul's, and it's not St. Peter's. It's a neutral location. And it's a good size location as well. And we're going to gather on the Thursday night on the question of St. Paul's Church. Because here's the thing, these meetings they're for everyone, they're for all parishioners, and we didn't want to have them in those buildings because that would simply communicate that this meeting is only for, or primarily for, the people who identify with this location. That's not the case. It's for anyone and everyone who would be impacted by the decision one way or another. And I believe that's every single one of us, because in whatever way we deal with it, we must deal with our infrastructure issue. If we don't, it's like, you know, me trying to swim across this pond with bricks tied around my neck. I wouldn't get very far. And so it's a vital question for us, and it's going to impact every single one of us. So please mark those dates on your calendar, October 10th. What we're doing on that Thanksgiving weekend is we're canceling the evening Mass for 2 reasons. Primarily, number one, over the last number of years, Sunday attendance or Sunday night attendance on Thanksgiving weekend is usually very, very, very low, like very low. And secondly, we want people to gather with the bishop. The bishop is the chief shepherd of our diocese, And this is the first time he's coming to formally visit our community, those 2 morning masses. So even those of you who normally go on Saturday evening, I really encourage you, make an exception this weekend or that weekend and come for the 2 morning masses. I understand sometimes you don't have a choice, that's fine. We will still have the Saturday Mass, but let's really try to be there for the Sunday morning Masses. For those of you on our leadership teams, the Finance Council, Parish Council, and the standing committees, mark the date for a luncheon. We're going to be sending an email out to you about that. And then the meetings on the 19th and 21st as well. After those 2 big meetings, our listening committee are going to be seeking to meet with anyone who would like to sit down and talk, regardless of whether you think this is a great idea or a terrible idea. We want to listen. We want to hear what you have to say. And so that's going to be ongoing for another 4 or 5 weeks that the committee will be meeting actively with parishioners. At the same time, about a week or 2 after these large meetings, the other committee that we formed, the committee that we're calling the Dreaming Committee, is going to begin a series of meetings as well, inviting parishioners to think about not just about what we're letting go, but what it is that we can receive through this option 4, which has been proposed. And that's about a renewed building on this location that belongs to all parishioners of Our Lady of Guadalupe, regardless of what community you come from. And there's a general idea of the relative size and shape of how this building can be renewed, but the specifics are wide open, and we want to hear from people, and we want hopefully for people to get excited about this idea. It's the very beginning of this planning process, and the best of plans always begin with a dream, and that's why it's called the Dreaming Committee. So more information about that to follow. In conclusion, many of you are aware that we did produce a rather long, thick document for the Archbishop around requesting moving to this stage of discernment. And some parishioners have asked whether that document's available, and it most certainly is. If you would like to receive a copy of that document electronically, I've asked the Bishop if this is okay, and he said absolutely, it's fine. You can just drop an email to our office manager, Brenda, and she'll arrange to get you a copy of that document. Don't be put out by 168 pages. I believe that the report itself is about 30 pages and the rest are appendices. Very interesting reading, but not necessary reading. So with that being said, I realized I didn't introduce my mug. It is some of you Coffee with Father James historians may recognize that this is the original Coffee with Father James mug. It's the Gary Larson Farside Aerobics in Hell. So maybe it was just the kind of week that I've had this past week that made me choose this mug. So I hope you have a wonderful week and are enjoying this phenomenal fall weather. God bless everyone. Take care.